Hi, thanks for using My Court Coach. I'm Sarah, and I'll be your instructor as we talk about the application for Expedited Child Support Order, also known as the Form FL-380. As with all court forms, you want to list your identifying case caption information at the top. Below that, under Notice to Applicant, you would want to list the name of the person who's being served with this form, as well as the amount of child support you are proposing to become an order. This form needs to be served with a completed income and expense declaration. That's an FL-150 for each party, as well as your proposed expedited child support order. That's an FL-382. Below that, you want to mark the appropriate box number 2. Either you are receiving or are not receiving, or you intend to apply for public assistance for the child, whichever one that is, or you fall under, please mark the appropriate box there. And as always with court forms, you want to sign and date the form. Page 2 of this form is the proof of service that would need to be filled out by the person that's serving for you. The person that's serving for you needs to be at least age 18 or up. They need to be a U.S. citizen, and they cannot be a party to the case. That person needs to fill out and sign this form indicating that they have served this particular form, FL-380, as well as the proposed expedited child support order, the form FL-382, the completed income and expense declaration for both parties, that's the FL-150, a worksheet setting forth the basis for the amount of support requested, which would indicate some sort of computation of how you came to that amount, 3 blank copies of the income and expense declaration, and 3 blank copies of the response to application for expedited child support order and notice of hearing. That is the FL-381. They need to indicate who these forms were served on, either the petitioner or the respondent, or if there is substituted service. For instance, if your server goes to the house where one of the parties lives, the party that you're serving, and that party is not there, but maybe a roommate is there, then they could mark the box other and list their name and title or relationship to the person they're attempting to serve. This form is most likely going to be served either by delivery at home or by mailing. If by delivery, then the person filling out this form needs to indicate if the delivery was to their home address or business address, the date, time, and the address. If by mailing, the person that is filling out this form needs to indicate the date the mailing was sent out or deposited for mailing, as well as the address that it was listed to. Line number 2 asks for the manner of service. Again, that can be personal service, which is often best. Substituted service, as I indicated earlier, if there is a roommate that is accepting service or some other family member at the person's house, then you can leave the documents with them, but the person serving would also need to attach a separate declaration or affidavit stating their efforts to establish and attempt personal service on the person being served first. If it's mail and acknowledgement of service, if you mail the copies to the person served, then you would also need to include the notice and acknowledgement and return envelope with prepaid postage addressed to the sender. And then you would attach a completed acknowledgement of receipt to this form. And then finally, D, if the documents are being served by certified or registered mail service, for instance, to an address outside of California, then you would attach the signed return receipt or other evidence of the delivery to the person served to this form and mark box D. The person filling out this page 2 of the form, as I stated earlier, needs to be at least 18 years of age and not a party to this action. If they collected a fee for the service, then that would be listed in line number 4. If the person serving is a California sheriff or marshal, they would mark box 5A. If they're a registered California process server, they would mark box B. If they're an employer independent contractor of a registered California process server, they would mark box C. If it is a family, friend, or family member and not a registered California process server, they would mark box D. Box E is if an attorney is doing the service for you, they are exempt from registration. They would mark box E. And again, the person who is serving needs to list their name, address, telephone number. If they are a professional process server, they would also list their county of registration and registration number there. If it's any of the 5 B through E, they would sign and date in this left-hand side. If you're having a California sheriff or marshal or constable do the service for you, they would sign and date on the right-hand side. I hope that you found this helpful. Good luck.